Hey, unabashed community, welcome to this week's episode focused on 5 rituals to feel your best so you can be your best, so you can lead your best, so you can shine as the best version of yourself. I'm going to share with you 5 rituals that have changed my life and gives me what I call the pleasure edge. It is the edge of feeling so damn good in your body and in your skin. So that when you show up to work, you show up to the bedroom, you show up to your friends' parties, you show up to networking events, you've got an edge on everyone else. It's that je ne sais quoi that people can't put their finger on, but yet they're drawn to. It's that part that signals that you are high quality, high caliber, high status without you having to even mention a word. So I'm going to share with you my Pleasure Edge playbook. And this is a play by play of 5 rituals that, again, I have done and continuously do in my life. It is vital to the ecosystem of my relationship, my health, my happiness, my pleasure, of course, of all things. And I realized that this is just too good of a playbook to keep a secret to myself. And I wanted to share it with you because truly there's an audacity that's required to feel good. You've heard me mention the audacity a lot in the last couple of episodes. This is a word that, again, I've been working with since last year. And it does take audacity, it takes courage, vulnerability, boldness to feel good, to let yourself feel good, especially as a female leader, entrepreneur, creative that is constantly, maybe on the rat race or constantly needing to be the front line of the pipeline for your business, for deal flow, for cash flow, and also in dating to be the front line, right? As your best marketing PR agent to represent yourself, whether it's in online dating or in person. We are constantly at the forefront of our life creation as the leading energy and the light. And either we're having a lot of really good fun time with it or we're not because we're feeling drained, because we're feeling tired, we're feeling exhausted. So, this is for all my female founders, creatives, executives, entrepreneurs that are out there doing really big, audacious things. And also, my mamas out there as a mama who's doing so many things for everybody all the freaking time. I know that it is hard to say, hey, shit, let me get myself to feel good today just because I can. And I want you to take this playbook and the 5 rituals to feeling your best to embody your edge. Feeling good is your edge. A high performing woman cannot run all day on stress and pressure. And a mom cannot run all day on fumes and emptiness. We must, number one, create a boundary for feeling good and being connected to ourselves no matter what, no matter what. And when we make that boundary, which we hear like, fill our cups, well, we got to make a boundary around our cup, around what can come in, what cannot come in, right? And I'll give you some of this play by play here on the 5 rituals that'll help you do that. But you've got to have a boundary around your cup, whatever that cup is for you. It's your emotional, mental, physical, sexual, sensual well-being, health, right? Your vitality, your health, your full radiance. Like that is your cup, your emotions. Like, oh my God, the richness and the fullness. Yeah. And then we have to have a bulletproof casing around the cup so that we don't put holes in it or let other people put holes in it as well. And when we do that, you feel so good in your body that you can lead with power and pleasure and presence. And that is the ultimate edge, whether you're going to a meeting or you're going to a pitch or you're one of my recruiter clients, top head executive of recruiting department, she is always pitching people to leave their jobs and move their lives and go to another one. But when she shows up, her energy level is like at a 2 or a 3. And she's still pretty successful. But when we've been working together, her energy level went from that 2 to 3 to like a 7 and an 8. And she was able to actually produce and generate so many more influential strategies to gain so many more clients and revenue for the business and her bonuses with grace and with ease and with fun that she couldn't even freaking believe it, because she had these limitations around her time. She didn't have enough time. She didn't have enough time to potentially invest in coaching. She said she didn't have the time to actually like do some of these rituals. You really can't afford to not make the time. And actually, what I coached her in is you actually have the time. It's a matter of value. You're actually not valuing the time that you spend in these rituals higher than the time you spend rushing out the door, grabbing your Starbucks coffee, and then getting into the emails. You value getting to work and getting to your computer and getting onto your emails more than you value creating these rituals and these times and actually reallocating the time to something that's even more valuable and more important. And I share that because maybe you also have that bit of an objection that you don't really have the time to do these things. Totally, I get it, right? I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm running 7-figure business. I'm traveling around the world. But again, like I said, this is vital to the ecosystem of what I have built my business and my life on and my relationships on. This is vital. It's not a negotiable. It's not a nice to have or a should one day have. It's an absolute must. And that's where the audacity to take this time and reallocate to feeling good is an embodied invitation to your personal power. So let's get into these fun 5 rituals that are going to help you feel your best so you can absolutely be your best and capture the world with more influence, more aliveness, more energy, capture more abundance in all the ways that feel better to you. So, ritual number 1 is doing a morning body scan and setting an intention. So, you've heard of your morning rituals and your morning practices. There's meditation, there's breath work, there's yoga, there's the gym, there's movement, there's dance, right? There's a wide variety of all these active things that we can do. And sometimes, you don't have time to go to the gym if you're about to go to a flight. But this is such a simple ritual that you do before you even get out of your bed. You literally, the moment you open your eyes, you put your hand on your heart and you put your other hand on your body. And then you close your eyes and just scan the body with intention to one, feel your body. Because in Tantra, we really value, right? The philosophy is that the body is a vessel and a vehicle for the divine to guide us, move us, to expand us. And so we don't want to forgo the body when we get up and run around and do all these great exercises. We want to actually start the day from a awareness place of a rooted presence and awareness. So scan your body. What is your body telling you that morning? And take maybe even 5 breaths with this practice. Keep it simple. 5 deep, slow breaths. Scan your body. Notice if there's any tension. Notice if there's any contraction. Notice if there's any emotions, like maybe you're nervous for today. Maybe you're excited for today. Maybe you're feeling uncertain about today. Maybe something was said yesterday that you're still carrying over. Just bring the awareness to the sensations of the emotions and how your body's actually feeling. That is creating the vitality for tantric based living right off the bat. That right away is how you are creating more flow, more love in your cup. And you begin every day filling your cup first in a world that you can't control, in a world that is always noisy and distracted. But before you even engage with that world, give yourself the gift of creating gratitude for the body, the human self, bringing yourself back into the body after like 8 hours. Hopefully, you're getting 8 hours of sleeping, right? Being out of the body and breathe, breathe, be with the body, ground into yourself and create the focus inward, the sensations, the feelings, the messages that your body is trying to tell you first before reaching for your phone and the digital stimulus. It's going inward to the physical sensations. Let yourself receive this because you do deserve to feel good mentally, spiritually, emotionally, somatically, physically. You deserve it. You absolutely do. And that's your lived action that you can do every morning to live into more health and wellness. So simple, so effective, right? But that's what's going to create the edge for the day, that micro shift. And then the next piece, right? And then the next piece, you can, if you're someone who showers in the morning, you can take that with you when you go into the shower, right? Sometimes I shower in the morning, depends on how my mood is. But if I'm going to go and move my body, which is a part of the next step, which I'll get to in just a second, then I don't. I'll wait on that. And so what I'm going to share here, a little caveat, is you can apply this as an extension of the first one that I just explained to you, create that body awareness and take it into the shower. Or you can literally rinse and repeat this when you do go to the second step and you allow yourself to go back into the shower. And what you would be doing is bring that body awareness. And as you're paying attention to your body, being with your body, allowing yourself to actually, you know, have this filling of your cup with your breath and release and allowing life to, move through you and to fill through you. You're doing everything you can to tell your body, hey, I love you and you matter to me today. And when you do that, the whole day shifts. And so if you bring that and you're someone who does take a shower, take that awareness into the shower. Wash your body with intention. Like I said, a part of this step is intention. So if you're going to take a shower, go into the shower with the intention of, hey, I'm washing off all the shit from yesterday or all the shit that I was dreaming about. And today I rinse my body in gratitude and gratefulness. I rinse my body in gratitude and gratefulness. That's one of the fun ways that you can actually bring intention into the day when you're washing your body. If you're going to go into the next step, which is embodied movement ritual, you can set an intention as you begin your embodied movement ritual, which is I intend to feel pain free, fluid, open, connected to my body. I intend my body to be an open vessel and a vehicle for the divine goodness, divine worthiness, divine abundance to flow to me easily and effortlessly with grace, with good to all and harm to none. And so it is. Let's fucking rock and roll, right? So, step two, ritual two, is embodied ritual movement. This is for you to be able to, the micro shift is having confidence without effort. The more that you are actually attuned to your body, the more you're moving your body, the more you're in presence with your body, the more you can move through the world with confidence without thinking about it. So I think about one of the trainers that I had been talking to online, in the online space. And he was telling me about how he was training these Victoria's Secret supermodels. And I was like, fuck yes, give me some workout tips. Cause I'm doing my morning practice, which is, you know, tantric kriyas. So certain type of ways that I hold my body and do these positions, and then certain types of breathing patterns. That's all a part of my embodied movement. but I'll alternate it. And this is what you can do. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. I dance, but I also go to the gym and I'm wanting to get my bigger gains on that and grow my booty more, right? And slim up and snatch up just for fun, just to have that type of physique for my body, like my little sex goddess body feels so good. So I'm like, how do I get these bigger gains? And he was saying one of the things with the Victoria's Secret models when he was working out with them and training them specifically for the show, for the Victoria's Secret runway show, is that he has them work out with intention, right? So also take that intention to your embodied movement. If you're going to the gym, move with intentionality, intention to feel your muscles growing, intention to feel stronger, to access your feminine fire, right? So for them, he had them do the intention, right, of feeling like absolutely unstoppable. And he would have them do these workouts where they would intentionally put on more muscle mass because that's what looks better on camera. But the key piece that I want to share with you all is that one of the things he gets them to do besides the heavier weight is to chill and to just kind of move their body around the gym and do mobility training and take up space. So when they are on the catwalk, they walk with so much confidence that they don't even think about it. That's an edge. Imagine if you were to walk into every single room, every single space that you were to step into, and you weren't even thinking about having to be confident. You just simply were that badass bitch. You were having the confidence of a woman who is just high level, high status, who knows that she deserves and belongs to be in the room. That's the power of embodied movement. That's why this particular ritual is a game changer. And the way that you can play that game of influence and success and love and life, same thing in relationships. So, like this morning, I didn't go to the gym. My morning practice was some gentle breath work, some hip rocking, doing some of my booty bands at home and some sensual dancing. Now, that supported me having the energy that I needed and that's required to show up to making a podcast, to being able to work on my nonprofit project for the Maasai girls in Africa, to support my man as he's away right now handling some of our personal things and still give him the amount of zest and radiance and aliveness to fuel him as his sunlight as he's, doing what it is that he's doing, but he comes in to check in with me to gain some more love and light and energy. And that's what the feminine does. We multiply and we amplify what life gives to us. And without having a embodied movement practice, when life gives us something, whether it's a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of gifts, a lot of opportunity, a lot of attention, if the body isn't open and fluid and has developed enough certainty, confidence, strength in it to stay open, then when that influx comes in, we tend to pause, we tend to fawn, we tend to still, and we can't actually receive the gift that life is giving us. And we're also not going to be in our feminine edge. We're not going to have an edge on the competition, which the daily competition is you and the version of you that's running the old story of being tired. You and you is a version of you that was yesterday, right? The competition of you and your goals. Are you going to show up to your goals? Which version of you is going to show up to the day to move the needle forward on the things that matter to you? But also, very important, is your relationship. A woman who isn't embodied, which means you are not in your body, you're living disembodied, you're living hovering above your body, you're hovering just outside of your body, you're hovering above or below, or you're in your head all the time, an analytical mind, you're not going to be able to experience the type of passion and romance and love and desirability that every single woman desires to feel from her romantic relationship, because that comes as a result of us being in our body. And that's where we get really confident because we connect to our self love. We feel our power when we're in our body, when we're slowly becoming pain free, when we're slowly building those muscles. We're like, oh, I'm kind of feeling myself. I'm feeling myself. Yeah. Right. Like, fuck yeah. That's awesome. That's confidence. And you're putting the effort in at the forefront so that when you show up to the rest of the day, you already bring that confidence with you. And that is a part of your edge. Yes. Feels so, so good. I was actually talking to my younger sister yesterday on Instagram messaging, and she hasn't been working out because it's just not her daily lifestyle, but she's been doing it. She signed up for Gold's Gym. She's like rocking it. So I'm always being like, fire emojis. Yeah, girl. Like sending her all kinds of, hypey stuff up on Instagram. And she's loving it. She's, girl, I love your messages. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we were messaging yesterday, and she wasn't feeling confident going to the gym and doing the weights, but with enough time and setting the intention of health. I want to have a healthy heart. I want to have a happy heart, right? There's that intention. Then she shows up to put the effort in, and now she's feeling so much more confident. She's like, fuck, I'm actually feeling fired. This is actually feeling fun. I'm actually feeling good, which was something was so intimidating. And I want to just share that example because if sensual movement or dancing to one song in the morning with your eyes closed feels intimidating, or you feel silly or wonky or goofy about it, still do it anyways. Put that effort in to have the audacity to feel good, and the confidence will follow. That's how you're going to continuously cultivate your edge. So I want to go into ritual number 3 to feel your best so you can be your best. Ritual number 3 is called mirror mantra and journaling. Mirror mantra and journaling is really a go to that cannot be skipped. This is where you get to connect to your expression and the truth of what you really, really want. So, the mirror mantra and journaling for me go hand in hand. And this is how I've actually habit stacked to make this an edge that I don't miss. I have my journal by the bed, which I journal at night and I journal in the morning. And then I have my mantras in another journal, my what I call my best life scene. It's a practice that I guide my clients in on how to literally, people use the term script, but for me, it's a technique that I learned through the spiritual psychology mastery program where we literally are creating our most and best ideal scene and lifestyle of our dreams. And we live into it 100%. There's a sweet spot. I'm not going to tell you what that sweet spot is yet. You'd have to work with me to really get the details to find out. But every single time, every single thing comes true. And it's because we're working with the qualities versus just the visioning, but we do need the vision. And so with the mirror mantra, it's taking the journal and stepping into the mirror and expressing what it is that I actually want out loud in my own eyes, in the mirror, having fun with it, calling it all out. I'm posting an Instagram story on me doing this in the morning. And it's so freaking fun to journal around like who you want to be that day, what you want to call in that day, what you're going to expect that day, who you're going to embody, what qualities are going to express. And then from there, letting the day go on so that you actually receive that which you desire as it wants you back. The question I always tell my clients in that moment, because without consistently doing this, you then never face overcoming the hurdles and the challenges that come by believing that these things are true and developing deeper levels of faith so that this becomes your real reality. And usually it's because there's a sneaky little self sabotaging pattern in there. It's a limiting belief that says, I can't let myself receive it. It's too big. It's too good. I'm not allowed to, or I shouldn't. And you'll find out a little bit more about that in the next ritual. But the question you want to ask yourself here is, can I let myself receive this? Can I let myself receive this today? Today. And then in between moments of the day, right, as that ritual You can journal out things of, things you're grateful for, things that you're desiring, things that you are reflecting on, wins of the day, right? One of the things that I also do is I write out my 3 wins of the day, or at the end of the day, Naeem and I, we express to each other as our evening ritual what are the top 3 things that we are proud about ourselves that we've accomplished today, right? By voicing your desire, you again have an edge because number one, you're using your voice specifically in the mirror, which means you're opening and activating your throat chakra. So you can't go into the world with a throat chakra closed and expect to be successful, expect people to listen to you or care about what you have to say. You're not connected to the power of your word, which is your wand, right? We create with our words, the vibration of them, the energy of them, the intention of them. And when we get into the practice, this ritual of expressing what we want, as well as what we're grateful for, vocalizing it, not just writing it down, right? It's both. Notice that this ritual is both expressing out loud in the mirror as well as journaling it. So you can journal it and then speak it. That's my go to. I journal it and then I speak it. Maybe I journal it at night and I speak it in the morning. Maybe I journal it right when I first wake up. And then when I come back, I speak it into the mirror. So really give yourself the opportunity to start to clear your throat chakra, open up that voice, open up that expression, open up your power, because our vocal cords are directly connected to our cervix. There's a vagus nerve that runs from our throat down through our pussy into our cervix. And so the more that we are opening and expressing our desires, our gratitudes, our truths, the more we're also fueling that sacral chakra of self fulfillment and pleasure, which is what you're also doing when you're moving your body in ritual too. So notice 2 and 3. Ooh, that's a real pleasure edge for you to do those practices. And again, it's up to you how long or as little you want them to be. It's just a matter of doing the ritual. It could be a minute, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 5 minutes. You can build upon it, but do the actual ritual to feel your best and be your best in that day and watch how it shifts. So these have been super fun for me. These are ways to build my life on vitality, to go from level energies 2 and 3 when, you were waking up to now. Just imagine, right? If you skipped out on those, how much that would be actually costing you time, energy, connection, health to not do number 1, number 2, number 3. Imagine if you skipped all of those and you just showed up to the office, you showed up to the meeting, you showed up to take care of your kids, you showed up to life, and you were depleted and empty. You are fucking no way going to have an edge on the day. You're not going to have an edge on your coworkers. You're not going to stand out to be considered as partner in your firm because you're missing vitality and aliveness. I had to say it. I had to say it. You show up in the dullness and the lackluster, and I know nobody wants to hear the problems or nobody wants to feel called out, but this is me calling out the old version of me. I created this, like I said, as the ecosystem to the foundation of my life and success because my life before this, before 14 years ago, was not like this at all. I would wake up right out of bed, quickly throw my clothes on, get on my fucking Blackberry, be fully, yeah, I had a Blackberry at the time. I'm talking about 14 years ago, right? Like, fuck, literally talking to my clients in China, seeing what happened with the morning deliveries of our shipments of quality control, checking in with the VP and the president of the company that I was working with, and got out of bed with cortisol, got out of bed with stress. I had no morning routine that would give me an edge, but let alone that would actually support my hormonal health. These rituals really support, as a female leader, your hormonal health. Then I'd go to Starbucks and I would get my Starbucks and I would get them their Starbucks and I would show up at my desk and I'd click, 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 get right away into generating business and leads and working with my creative team. So I'm calling it out because I'm not calling you out. I'm calling out the old version of myself, which maybe you see in yourself. And if so, what a beautiful opportunity and a gift to decide, hey, do I want to still be that version of myself? Because if you're listening, I have goosebumps right now. Because if you're listening to this episode, there's some part of you that wants to feel good in your body and to actually lead with power, with pleasure, and with presence. You want to have that pleasure feminine edge. You want to feel good as your edge. And this is me just lovingly calling myself out. And if it calls you out and calls you forward, fuck yes, girl. Amen. I am so here for it and with you on it. I hope this inspires you in some way. All right, here we go. Ritual number 4. Woo! So, ritual number 4 is role play your yes and your no exercise. This is about boundaries and bliss. Like I said, you've got to have boundaries around your cup. How do you create boundaries around your cup? You've got to get real comfortable with saying yes and saying no without feeling guilty and with allowing yourself to receive the pleasure of your decision. Mm, bet you didn't think I was going to go there, did you? This is a really crucial ritual because this applies again to all of our interpersonal relationships and also the relationship we have with our own negative, disempowering, or limiting patterns and beliefs that we've got going on. Sometimes we'll say yes to something because we feel bad or we feel guilty, so we'll do it. That's not bliss. That's not having a boundary. You got to practice saying yes and no and feeling good about it. I was actually talking to a potential client this week. We had an in person meeting, and she's awesome. She's running an 8-figure business with her husband, and she's just the sweetest. She's in her 30s and loved chatting with her. And one of the things she said was like, I really want to work with you. And don't be surprised that I just like have this pattern of ghosting. And she said it so cavalier and so casually. I started laughing. And she's like, so, if doesn't mean I'm not interested. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to sign the check. I am. I'm just, if you don't hear from me, I just have this pattern of ghosting and I feel so bad about it. Right. I just like feel so guilty. So like hunt me down and like track me down. And two things came up as a result for this that I think are worth sharing with you as my audience is one, she admitted a pattern that she has of ghosting, which I lovingly pointed out and said, oh, so clearly you have not strengthened your power with boundaries because there's a fear of conflict. When we are strong in our yes and our no, there's a potential of facing conflict or that the other person won't be happy. And so instead of saying yes or no, people will tend to get into a pattern of ghosting because they're afraid of conflict. They're afraid of making a decision. So they avoid it, the pattern of avoidancy. And I called her lovingly forward on it and she laughed. And I said, notice how that pattern is probably playing out in your relationship. How it also probably confuses the people around you that you think are actually worthwhile of spending time with and interested in, but yet you send them such a mixed signal by being an avoidant. She was like, fuck, I never thought of that. And I was like, yeah, and you probably feel really guilty about it. I absolutely do. And you probably don't feel any kind of pleasure in association with your decision makings, then, do you? She's like, no, actually, I feel weird and like off about it. And my husband makes a lot of the decisions. I was like, girl, this is the evolutionary opportunity, of course, in the work that we do together. And this is why it's one of the rituals that's really strong for me. This I'm sharing you from this perspective is you've got to have the boundaries so you can be in your bliss, which is why role playing your yes and no inside of yourself and practicing your yes and no in the mirror, yes and no with friends, yes and no with trusted colleagues or your coach, so that you can get into the habit of feeling good when you say yes and equally feeling good when you say no with a delicious smile on your face because it's about self love. And I'm going to give you the opposite perspective. I didn't share all of this with her. I shared one line with her, which I will share with you, which is how and why I've embodied this ritual into my ecosystem. Like I've said, is for me, that boundary is the opposite. I played my yes and my no. My body is open and expansive. I'm like, wow, that's a yes. That feels like a yes. Do I dare say yes? Yeah, I'm going to say yes and trust the opening and the expansion, the intuition of my body and fucking go for it. If my body feels like a no, which is closed, tight, stiff, rigid, contracted, it might not be a no permanently. It might be a no right now, but then I can get curious to find out, is this a real no? Or is it a limitation or a fear that I'm just saying no to because I'm scared of the growth, or I'm scared of the unknown, or I'm scared that maybe I don't trust myself to lead myself in it? Is that no actually a yes in disguise? And the only way is to start to role play and to practice the exercise of saying yes and saying no and seeing what that feels like in your body, and then taking the actual action steps to act upon your body's wisdom of the yes and the no. Your body is so intelligent. It is guiding you all along the way. But are you listening and trusting enough to act upon it to embody your bliss? And the way that that looked for me with a strong boundary was I said to her, I said, you're so, you're awesome. You seem super cool. And I don't chase people. People who ghost are people that I don't work with, because I work with people who are ready to take accountability and action now. And she was so elated that I had already embodied this and was inspired that she's like, oh my God, send me all your case studies. Let me just feel this in my body. Let's talk the next day, which we did. And then she signed up, which was amazing because now her life is absolutely changing. But I used to think that if I lowered my prices or chased people, or that I needed to, chase her because she has a pattern of ghosting, and that's my job to convince her or to persuade her or to, empower her to do this thing. And it's like, no, that actually feels terrible for me. You get resentful. I get annoyed. I'm underpaid. I'm underloved. Same thing in relationship, right? If I'm chasing him for love or affection, that's not going to really feel good for me at all. Matter of fact, right? So I don't chase. I had to let go of that patterning completely. But that's where we've got to have the pleasure without the guilt of whatever the result is, and be totally fine and neutral about it no matter what happens, right? No matter what happens. And when I did that is when my practice started filling up, is when the big opportunities and the bigger stages started finding me, is when the right high level women and community started to surround me, not because I was wavering in my boundaries, but because I was actually strong and bulletproofed my boundaries. So that is the fourth ritual to help you feel your best so you can be your best and lead as your best self. And now we're going to get into number 5. Ritual number 5 is one of my favorites. It is embodying your edge through pleasure. Yes. Well, what's this going to do? It's going to start to create these micro shifts of these unabashed, unapologetic opportunities for visibility, where you're going to feel so damn good that you are not going to be focused on the negative exterior things that are happening around you at work, at the office, in your life, because you are in your pleasure. That's the embodied edge. How do we embody pleasure? Well, it's sexual pleasure, it's sensual pleasure, it's simple pleasures. You want to use pleasure as a form of extended meditation. So when you go for your morning coffee, you actually slow down. You feel the weight and the warmth of it in your hand before you drink it. You let yourself feel the sensation through your body. Notice why we did number 1 in the first place, So we're attuned and aware in our body. Then we smell the coffee. Then we drink the first sip. Then we release a sound of delight. And then we continue. Same thing for food, same thing for sound. But more importantly, the absolute edge in how I use this practice is before I go to a big event, even before this podcast, before I'm going to show up in a visible way to the world around me, because this is what the edge is about. You can have the edge for yourself, but when we talk about edge, it's about influence. It's about living and loving and leading, which is a relational component. And so it's not about just doing this for yourself. Absolutely. That's foundational. But where you really get the juice and the growth is when you apply it with other people, because it's great for you, but it's better in relationship. And so we want to embody this edge of pleasure before we go to work, or before we go on a date night, or before we have a big meeting or a networking event, or we run an event. We want to use something that's called pleasure mapping, and use pleasure mapping as a positive pleasure meditation. You can do this in your office, close the door. You can do this if you don't have an office in your bathroom at the in the bathroom at the office. You can do this at home between Zoom calls, before meetings, right? It's about bringing sensual pleasure, touch, and awareness into the body that sparks more arousal and life force energy, so that your energy fucking skyrockets. Like, ooh, does it skyrocket? You are now glowing, and it helps you develop pleasure in new parts of your body. And that's what's really cool, is that even if you know your, familiar erogenous zones, like your breast or your clitoris or, the back of your ears, when you do a practice like this of consciously arousing your body, and what you do is you draw a line with your fingertips with a feather light touch from the top of your head all the way down to the front of the body, all the way down to like the tips of your toes. And what you're doing is you're choosing to develop and evaluate new pleasure parts that you may not have associated with, right? So, one of my clients, who's a lawyer, she was about to go into the courtroom. And so, before she did all that in her car, she did her own pleasure mapping. She started from the top of her head. She went down to her temples. That felt really good. She got a little giggle. She took a deep breath and she kept going towards her neck, all the way down her shoulders. And then, whoa, her collarbone sent shivers down her body. And so, is she getting turned on? Yes. And is she getting turned on in a way that's producing, cultivating, and generating more energy, vitality, radiance, and ultimately, it's our power? Yes. And then she began going down her arms, and she found a little tickle spot behind her elbow. She worked her way and she found the back of her knee, and she went down to the side of her ankle and the back of her ankle. And as she mapped her pleasure, creating physical and mental map of her own body and her own pleasure through mindful, sensual touch, it heightened her sensitivity. And when she's in a heightened state of sensitivity, you're in a better place of communication around receiving your own yes, your own no, your own pleasure, your own power. And this is a tantric somatic practice. You don't even have to explore or touch your genitals. And that's what I'm really highlighting here. Has You could touch your genitals if you want, but as I said, it's not about having an orgasm and coming. This is about sensually connecting to the sexual energy that lives in your body, or the feeling of arousal, letting yourself get excited, feel lust, feel turn on, building that intimate aliveness and arousal with yourself. And that is your edge, because there you're going to find your power. You're going to find your pride. You're going to find your aliveness. There's no room there for pain and shame and guilt and doubt and overthinking. That's where this truly becomes your feminine pleasure edge. And it's something that I do daily, daily. And it's what I see has been a game changing advantage to my leadership, the way I show up online, the way I talk, the way I share, the way I walk into a room, the way I move, because I'm so connected to my pleasure. I'm consumed, but in a positive way, with the power that lives inside of me, with the divinity, with the arousal, with the electricity. It's like, oh my fucking God, I'm glorious. Thank you. Wow. You know, when you're in an arousal, heightened, turned on state, you're happier. Your energy level's like at a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10, right? And imagine when your energy level is that high, how your productivity skyrockets, how your influence and your leadership skills skyrocket. People want to follow someone who's turned on, lit up, passionate, where they can feel this palpable, potent energy that they can't really necessarily put their finger on, but they can feel it. That is your edge. And that's where you continuously cultivate your pleasure as a practice, so that you remember every day what this can feel like to live and to love and to lead and to live unabashedly in your pleasure from the source of all power, your body, not from burnout, overfunctioning, overproducing, or overperforming. This is your pleasure edge. And when you get to these moments, like, oh my God, is someone going to see me in the parking lot, right? For my one client, she put music on, she closed her eyes, she didn't let herself stop. It's how good can I stand it? Can I stand to give myself 1 or 2 minutes to feel so good in my car? And can I let myself receive it, regardless if this seems weird to other people outside seeing me do whatever I'm doing in my car, being happy, smiling, like they don't know if I'm on a call or what I'm doing. It doesn't matter. The focus is inward. And this is your playbook, my gorgeous one, to really living as your best, feeling your best, and thriving with your pleasure intelligence. So it's your choice. Do you want to continue running on stress, or do you want to run on sensation, pleasure, and aliveness, where your pleasure is your power and it's your edge?